Hello crafty friends, it's Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how I made these 8 cards with just 2 pieces of pattern paper and 5 total pieces of cardstock. This is for the April installment of the Oh So Inspired collab. I hope that you will stick around, see how I was inspired, and how I made these cards. Well, it's the 15th of April, so that means it is time for another Oh So Inspired collaboration video hop here on YouTube. And what we do is take one inspiration piece and make whatever we want that was somehow inspired by that piece. As you go along on the hop this month, which all of the collaborators are listed below, you're going to see that a lot of us probably took different inspiration from the piece and used it in a completely different way. For this month, our inspiration was a card posted to Instagram by Norine Hope, and I'll show you a quick picture of that here. For my project today, what I was most inspired by from that inspiration piece was the split image on the card, how one side was black and white and the other side was color. And originally I was going to find maybe a black and white pattern paper and color in half of it, but here in a second I'll be sharing the supplies I'm going to use and I'll tell you why I decided to go a different route. In today's video I'm hoping to get 8 cards made, and this is one of those things I like to do where I find a layout and I try to make as many as I can to build up my card stash. I call it Sheet Load of Cards, and I will link the playlist below and in the upper right hand corner so you can go see other videos where I've done similar things. So before I get started, I'm going to share with you the supplies I'll be using today. As you can see, it's not really a whole lot, and I'm going to get 8 cards from this. First off, I'll be using the Spellbinders May 2018 Small Die of the Month kit. These are words that will cut just off the edge of the strip of paper that I cut. I have 2 pieces of orange cardstock. These are kind of my accent cardstocks. I have 4 pieces of white cardstock, and these will end up being my 8 card bases. And last but not least is the pattern paper that I decided to use. Like I mentioned previously, I was going to find a black and white pattern paper that I could just color in half of it. Well, my friend Danny shared this paper with me. It was one of the SaleABration free items. And I love it because it is the same exact pattern, except one is colored in. You can see that they're going to lay right on top of each other. So when the patterns get matched back together on the card, they're going to line up just perfectly. Let's go ahead and make the cards. The first thing that I always like to do and get out of the way is all of the cutting so that I can get this big cutter off of my work area. So I will start with the card bases. Those are just a quick right in half. I'm going to cut these to 5.5 inches wide today. For my 2 pieces of orange cardstock, if I figured it out correctly, I can get the orange mats and the strips for my die cut words all cut out of 2 pieces of cardstock. So when I cut these, I'm going to make sure that I have a leftover strip that is 11 inches here. I'm going to start by cutting 2 strips that are 3¼ inches wide. And these 2 strips I will keep to cut here in just a second. And then these strips I am going to cut to 4½ inches wide. For the dies I'm using, these need to be 7/8 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide. So what I'm going to do first is cut these in half to 5.5 inches. And then I will cut them into 7/8 inch wide strips. So now I have 8 strips for my die cut words as well as 8 mats. Next up for the pattern papers, these pieces are going to first be cut to 4¼ inches wide by 3 inches tall. To make sure that my pattern is right on top of each other, I'm just going to stack them together and start cutting. So again, that was 4¼ inches wide. By 3 inches tall. Now, as I'm cutting these and realizing that eventually I am going to cut these all in half, you could actually get 16 cards with this layout if you just doubled your accent cardstock and your white cardstock bases. Now the next little bit of cutting I'm going to do the color and the black and white piece together, and then I'm going to cut from corner to corner on both of these pieces. And then I'm going to want to make sure that I match these up, or kind of put these together, because that is how it's going to fit correctly on the card front. Now the great thing about this pattern paper is it can be turned any way and still look right side up. So that is why I'm able to get double the amount of cards with this if I wanted to. Now I am all done with my cutter and ready to start putting my cards together. What I'm going to do is take one of my sets here. I'm going to turn it so the black and white is on top, and then I'm going to start adhering these onto my orange mat. You will notice here that I have an opening here in that middle strip because I was trying to make the outside border even, and this is actually going to be covered up later, so it's not a big deal at all. I'm going to go ahead and finish 8 of these and I'll be back. Alright, so I have all 8 of those done. Because of the way the pieces match up, the diagonal, or which way that goes, does change from the card. So half of them would be like this and half of them would be like that. The next thing I'm going to do is use my dies to die cut the sentiments for the cards. So there are 4 different word dies in here, so I will die cut 2 copies of each one. To hold my word dies in place, again, I'll be using my Scotch blue tape. It is removable and I can actually reuse it. Some of the words are more to one side than the other. Like thank you is pretty much centered. So when it is either the smile or the hello, I am going to have to move it over just a little bit and then later snip off the rest of the straight edge, because if I don't, when I go to put this on my card later and I have to cut off the end to align with my orange mat, I would actually cut into the word. Now, if you don't have these dies, you could always just cut this strip about half of the width I did, like maybe half of an inch, and then stamp your sentiment like Norine did on the inspiration piece. You'll notice here that because of the height of my words, sometimes there'll be extra orange here at the bottom, so they will look a little bit different depending on which sentiment I put on there. And then you'll see here, there's just that strip with the words at the top. And then eventually these will go onto my card. And then I will just cut off the extra on the back where it hangs over, but you'll see that here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and cut out another set of these and I'll be back. Now that all of my sentiments are die cut, the next step is to get one put on each of my focal points. Because the widths of the cardstock at the bottom of each sentiment is different, I will be using two types of adhesive to get these on here. The first one, and my favorite, is my Scotch ATG, which is a tape runner. The next one, for the finer pieces, I will be using Adhesive Tech's a fine line clear glue. And finally, I have hello. So I will finish this one on camera and then I'll be back with the other four completed as well. The sentiments are adhered and the adhesive is dry, so now it is time to get these onto my card bases, which I folded off camera. To add a little more dimension to this card, because it is pretty clean and simple, I am going to use my foam squares. I get these at the Dollar Tree on a roll. I really like to use these. They're affordable and they work great. And there is one card all completed. Now you could do a lot more at this point to embellish it. You could have used a colored cardstock in the background besides white. You could add gems to this, maybe some Nuvo drops or some sparkle. For now though, I'm just going to leave them plain. I will finish the other 7 cards and come back and talk to you a little bit more. And just like that, I have 8 cards ready to be sent to someone special. If you were inspired by the inspiration piece and would like to play along for either fun or to be considered as a future member of our collaboration team, make sure to check out the video linked in the description box below. And for this month, for your hashtag, you are going to use hashtag IWasOSIAPR 2019, and that way if you use it exactly like that, I will be able to search for your videos here on YouTube, come see what you've done, and leave you some love. Speaking of leaving some love, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. Please stop by all of the collaborators below. They've worked hard and they're sharing their creations with you, and I would love for you to go watch them, leave them a comment, give them a thumbs up as well. Until my next video, I hope you're all having a crafty day. Bye-bye.